Welcome to our show. Today, we're diving into a fascinating topic that's sure to pique your curiosity. We're going to explore how scientists determine the age of our planet Earth. It's quite a mystery, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's one of the most intriguing questions about our planet. In fact, figuring out Earth's age is considered the most challenging among the three fundamental questions about our planet, which include measuring its size and weight.
Wow, I had no idea it was that complex. So, how do we even begin to tackle this question?
Well, let's start by thinking about how we know our own age. It's pretty straightforward for us humans, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Our parents tell us when we're born, and we just keep track from there.
Exactly. Our parents record our birth date and help us keep track as we grow up. Eventually, we learn to remember and add to our age each year. But here's the thing, when it comes to Earth, there were no living creatures, let alone humans, to record its birthday when it was formed.
That's a great point. I never thought about it that way. So, what about books? Couldn't we learn about Earth's age from historical records?
That's a common thought, but unfortunately it's not that simple. While we have books that tell us about human history going back over 5,000 years, and even myths and legends that date back thousands of years, there isn't a book that records Earth's age.
Why is that?
Well, books are written by humans, and as we mentioned earlier, humans weren't around when Earth was formed. So we need to look elsewhere for this information.
Fascinating. So, if there are no human records, where do we turn?
That's where it gets really interesting. Nature itself has created a kind of book that records events from long before humans existed. In fact, there are several of these natural books, but we'll focus on three main ones: the Book of Wood, the Book of Ice, and the Book of Rock.
Nature's own books? That sounds incredible. Can you tell us more about these?
Certainly. Let's start with the Book of Wood. Have you ever looked closely at a piece of wood?
Sure, I've noticed the patterns in wood grain. Is that what you're referring to?
Exactly. Those patterns you see are called tree rings or annual rings. They're like pages in a book, each one telling a story about a year in the tree's life.
That's amazing. How do these rings form?
Trees grow a new layer of wood each year, gradually increasing in thickness. If you look closely, you'll notice that some parts of the rings are lighter in color while others are darker. This is because many trees grow in places with distinct seasons.
Oh, I see. So the rings change based on the seasons?
That's right. In spring and summer, when it's warmer and there's more rain, trees grow faster. The wood formed during this time is less dense and lighter in color. In autumn and winter, when it's colder and drier, trees almost stop growing. The wood formed then is denser and darker.
So each ring represents a year of growth? That's incredible.
Exactly. You can actually count the rings to determine the tree's age. But that's not all. These rings contain even more information.
Really? What else can they tell us?
Well, the width of each ring can tell us about the climate conditions that year. Narrow rings indicate cold years with little rain, while wider rings suggest years with suitable temperatures and plenty of rain.
That's fascinating. It's like a natural climate record.
Absolutely, and there's even more. As trees grow, they absorb nutrients from the air and soil. These substances become part of the wood as it forms. Scientists can analyze the composition of each ring to learn about changes in air and soil quality over time.
Wow, trees are like natural historians. Is there a specific field of study for this?
Yes, there is. It's called dendroclimatology. Scientists in this field read the Book of Wood by examining tree rings from trees of different ages and regions. This helps them understand how the climate has changed over time in specific areas.
That's incredible. But wait, if we're using trees to learn about Earth's history, how far back can we go?
That's a great question. While trees provide valuable insights, they typically only live for several decades or a few hundred years. Even in ancient forests, the oldest trees rarely survive beyond 1,000 years. So while the Book of Wood is incredibly useful for recent history, it doesn't go back far enough to reveal Earth's birthday.
I see. So we need to look at other natural records to solve the mystery of Earth's age.
Exactly. The Book of Wood is just one piece of the puzzle. We need to examine other natural records, like the books of ice and rock, to get a more complete picture of Earth's age.
This is all so fascinating, But I have to ask, doesn't studying tree rings harm the trees?
That's a great concern to have. Fortunately, scientists don't need to cut down entire trees to study their rings. They use a tool called an increment borer to extract a small core sample, which looks similar to a pencil. This method doesn't harm the tree's growth.
That's a relief. It's amazing how much we can learn from nature without causing harm. This has been such an eye-opening conversation. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
I'd just like to encourage everyone to share what they've learned about tree rings with their friends. It's such a fascinating way to understand our planet's recent history, and it really shows how nature has its own way of recording information. The more we understand about these natural records, the more we can appreciate the complex and beautiful world around us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing this incredible information with us today. It's truly amazing how much we can learn from the natural world around us. I'm sure our listeners will be looking at trees with new eyes after this conversation.